Hello Autobots and Decepticons, my name is Soulmongry, and today I'm bringing you some Transformers War for Cybertron, but I'm going to be talking about the weapons of Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and I'm very excited to talk about this. The weapons are all super creative, and the thought process behind these are just amazing, and they're unlike anything I've ever seen before, and I'm just very excited to get my hands on some of these guns. So I'm going to give you the rundown on each of the weapons that have been revealed thus far, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on each weapon as well. First of all, I'd like to talk about the upgrade system. Now, the upgrade system in this game sounds pretty cool, and it sounds like it's going to play a huge factor in this game. You can upgrade each weapon 3 times, and once you upgrade the weapon, the upgrade carries over to other characters when they use that weapon. So that's a pretty sweet feature that you don't have to rebuy upgrades. And each time you upgrade your weapon, it's going to be a significant improvement. Now, I'm not too sure on what these improvements will consist of, but I have a feeling they're going to consist of speed, damage, and accuracy. And that's about all I know right now for the upgrade system, so if any of you guys have any other information on the upgrades, please let me know. The first weapon is the A4 Pulsar Cannon. The A4 Pulsar Cannon fires a giant projectile that players can detonate at will. Players can also create a makeshift minefield for opponents by fixing these energy clusters to walls within the environment and having them explode when enemies draw close. And this weapon should sound very familiar to us. This sounds exactly like the Magma Frag Launcher to me. You could shoot it and stick it to players. You could also stick it to the walls, stick it to the floors in War for Cybertron. And my concern with this weapon is it being overpowered. In War for Cybertron, it was extremely overpowered, but I'm not too sure on how it will work in this game. But it would be a pretty sweet weapon. I'm happy they're bringing it back. I would just like to see it tweaked because of how overpowered it was in War for Cybertron. The next weapon we have is the X18 Scrapmaker. This weapon is basically a chain gun. It can cut through your opponent like toy cars in a barrel, but it also burns through ammo quickly. Upgrades for this weapon increase its ammo capacity, wind-up time, running speed, and accuracy. Now, this gun should sound very familiar to everyone. This is the soldier's gun in War for Cybertron, and it is a very fun gun to use, so I'm excited to see this gun make a comeback in Fall of Cybertron. The next weapon we have is the Chaos Rift Combuster. To use this weapon, you must first line a shot using the weapon's aiming arc system. Then the Combuster launches cluster bombs that land and spawn a fury of mini explosives. You can also manually detonate the cluster bomb in air, creating a meteor shower of little bombs over your enemies. Now, this sounds like a very exciting gun, and I could see this gun taking a lot of skill to use, especially if you have to detonate it over the top of your opponents. Because of the speed in Transformers, you're not always in the same spot, so you really got to time it out well. And this could be a very cool, devastating attack, and it reminds me kind of like a mortar strike. So this could be a very cool weapon and a fun one to use. The next weapon we have is the Dimensional Decimator. This tiny grenade tears a hole in the fabric of space and time. After players discharge the explosive, an energy funnel begins to raise into the air, pulling everyone in the vicinity towards it, before finally exploding and spraying shards of its victim in all directions. This weapon is described as being kind of like a black hole with a green tornado going around it. To me, this weapon sounds like something that Storm would use in X-Men. And this weapon sounds pretty cool to me, and it sounds like it would be very devastating if you had a bunch of people lined up in front of you, and then you could suck them all into this black hole, and then it would just spray their mechanical parts everywhere, so that would be kind of epic. The next weapon we have is the Energon Harvester. This is the first shotgun that we have, and it leeches health off enemies while healing your own character. And this weapon is said to not do much damage, but it's a way for a player to gain health back, and it's like a combo between the shotgun and a drain gun. And this could be kind of a cool weapon to use, I think, if you're a character with less health than a different character, because then you could replenish your health while fighting. Next up is the Fearsome Gear Shredder. This weapon launches spinning blades, and it can cut limbs off enemies, and it can also ricochet off surfaces so that you can kill someone behind cover. You can also charge this weapon up and run around with a spinning saw blade to melee enemies. Now, this weapon scares me a little bit, just because I know how strong the chainsaw is in Gears of War and it's instant kill, so I hope there's something that doesn't make it an instant kill and we don't have a ton of people just running around with spinning blades. And another cool thing about this weapon is once it's upgraded, you can launch multiple blades and take out a spread of enemies. And another upgrade causes the blade to bounce off the surface and home in on your target afterwards. So this sounds like a pretty strong weapon to me, and it could possibly maybe be my favorite weapon just because the amount of angles that you can use to get at your opponents and to kill your opponents with is just going to be unlimited with this weapon. Next up is the Nucleon charge rifle. This is the sniper rifle. So it gets a zoomed in scope and it's got a powerful single shot blast that increases in damage the longer the player aims at the target. So the longer you scope in and probably keep focus on the target, you're going to get a stronger shot, which is pretty cool because it rewards accuracy when you're shooting an enemy. And then on the other end of it, it also makes you not want to sit still as that sniper because you know there could be a sniper aiming on you and then he could take you out in one shot if you're just sitting there. Coming up next is the Riot Cannon. This weapon could probably be compared to the Fusion Cannon in War for Cybertron. And this weapon is the scariest weapon that I've heard about yet. Just because when it's upgraded, the last shot in this weapon is going to cause somewhere around 300% damage. And that's a 300% increase. And that's going to be like a mini nuke, and it will cause a giant explosion capable of eliminating an entire wave of oncoming enemies. Now the good news about this is High Moon said that they were still working on tweaking this weapon, so I hope they don't make it that strong, or maybe if they reward a player with hitting all their shots with the cannon previously, they'll let the last shot do more damage. But I don't want people to be just running around with one shot and just shooting this mini nuke and taking out the entire team. That would be pretty overpowered. Next up is the Photon burst rifle. This is a standard assault rifle for Fall of Cybertron, and once this is upgraded, players no longer will have to pull the trigger for each time they want to fire the gun. Instead, it will be an auto burst weapon. And this has a pretty cool ability. This will show the enemy's health on their HUD. So I can see this weapon being used by some smart players just because they will then know when to engage in battles when they have more health or less health than the enemy that they are fighting with. The next couple weapons I'm going to talk about I don't have pictures for, but I'm going to briefly just touch on these. These were mentioned in the Game Informer article. The Path Blaster, this is said to be Optimus's weapon, and it's probably the gun you see on the front cover of Game Informer. And this weapon can be powered up to shoot through walls, and I'm not too sure on how thick a walls this will shoot through. So this will be kind of a cool weapon, especially since there is no radar. You will have to be pretty knowledgeable of where your opponents are to get them, and especially if someone's trying to escape behind a wall, you'll be able to finish them off. So I can see this weapon being very useful. And the last weapon I want to talk about is the Tech Volt Emitter. This sends out a continuous laser beam, and it upgrades to automatically dissipate and destroy incoming rockets with tiny shots of its own. What that means is that it will automatically take out these rockets by itself that are incoming on its own, so it has its own defense system. And this could be a very good weapon, especially for new players that are getting shot by different weapons at all different angles. So that might be a very good starting off weapon for some players. So after hearing about all these new weapons, I got pretty excited about the game. I'm a little concerned that a lot of these weapons are explosive weapons and they require less precision, because I do prefer precision-based weapons because it separates the skill gap then. But we will see how these weapons act in-game when the new game comes out. So that is all the information that I have on the new weapons in Transformers Fall Cybertron. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know which weapon you're most excited for, and don't forget to rate the video and subscribe for more Transformers. Have a good day, guys.